Well, it's definitely a good way to start off the 10th anniversary season here at home. I liked our first period. I thought we had some good energy from the get-go, and we're putting pucks behind their defensemen, and we had a good forecheck. Created some chances. I thought in the second, there was a bit of a lull for maybe the first 10-15 minutes of the period. We were standing around watching a lot of the period. And but our power play stepped up, and the guys that you need had the opportunity, and that really switched the momentum around and got the crowd back into the game, because it got really quiet there. And then I thought we managed and played a pretty decent third period, and we had great opportunities 5-on-5, just were unable to finish. But the difference of the game was the power play. Any questions?
Todd, after all the hype and the travel to Helsinki, it looked like a couple of your Finnish players were more comfortable playing here than they were over there. Koivu and Jätinen.
Well, that's something to ask them. I didn't see a big difference in their play. I will say this, that I know over there they probably felt a lot of pressure, and they're both have a tremendous amount of pride in how they play. And so it's a different scenario over there, playing in front of their family and friends when they're rather than playing over here.
7 of your 8 goals this year are already on the power play. What's going right?
I think Zidlitsky a couple times was looking to shoot. Mm-hmm. You look at Cullen's goal. I think he got credited for that goal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just a simple win the face-off, move to the middle and shoot. I think other things go unnoticed too. A guy like Andrew Burnett standing right out front, creating a lot of traffic and screens. So there are kind of those garbage goals, which was kind of like Mikko's, his second one, just creating a scrum. But our execution was very good. Versus Antti Miettinen being in the right spot to relieve pressure versus a team that really wants to pressure. But shooting the puck, having that shooting mentality, and doing a good job at the net.
What does Matt's ability at the point do for you, bro?
Well, in the zone, the shooting mentality. But I think where he's important is coming up the ice. He's a great skater, and he does a good job coming up the ice with speed, which can back teams off. So I think it's our execution coming up into the zone which allows us to play in the zone. Mm-hmm. But again, he's not afraid to pull the trigger, which is what you need on the back end. Show these teams that you're willing to put the puck at the net.
You talked about the pressure on Koivu and Miettinen over in Finland. Cullen didn't seem to show any signs of pressure tonight playing in front of his hometown.
No, he was very good tonight. I don't know stats-wise what he finished with, but there were a number of times from the bench you were like, oh, geez, who had that opportunity, or who made that play? And a lot of times you looked, and Seven was the one making the play or had the opportunity. So I thought he was very good for us tonight.
Lost in this game is the job that your PK did in the first period. That you give up a couple goals there. Obviously, it's going to be a different game.
Yeah, it got ourselves into a hole with penalties, and the hard thing about penalties, especially in the first period, is momentum, and because I thought we were going pretty well 5-on-5, and those penalties really, it takes a lot out of your penalty killers, the guys that are penalty killing, but it takes the other guys out of the game that aren't necessarily penalty killers. I think one thing that's really good for us this year is just our depth at the forward position as far as penalty killers. We got probably 4 good sets of guys that you can put out at any given time, and the other thing that's so important about penalty kill is face-offs. Mm-hmm. And our centers again did a pretty good job tonight. It's so important, starting with the puck on the power play, and getting back to your question on the power play. It helps when you win a draw in the offensive zone because you start with the puck, and I think 2 of our goals were the result of a one face-off.
Seems like specialty teams are really the decider in a lot of games these days.
Yeah, this is in the American League. I kept track one year. I just wanted to see what the difference would be between teams that win that game within the game, the specialty game. So if you score 4 goals like we did tonight, and I think they scored 1, we won that game, and it was about 75% of the games. If you win that game, you end up on the positive end of the game.
In terms of just staying in position and making good decisions, is that one of the best 60-minute efforts you've seen?
I think we've had better. As far as, are you talking this year or
Well,
my 2 years here, my year and 3 games?
This year so far. No, just, I mean, it's
Yeah,
under control. I mean,
Yeah, we're under, you know what, we have been focusing on D-zone coverage and defensive responsibilities, and guys have really been paying attention to the details and have been committed to that. I thought our second game over in Finland was, you know, for you guys that were there, I thought it was a very good game over there. You know, you're gonna have lapses, you're gonna give up opportunities. But I think that was probably our best effort so far of the year, was our second game over in Finland. I don't want to take anything away from the guys tonight, because they worked hard and we found a way to win the game. But you know, there's still some areas we have to get better at.
You wouldn't characterize that as playing a little more conservatively tonight?
You know what, I thought it was smart hockey. I really did. I even made the comment to Rick Wilson on the walking off after, I think, the second period, just about there was a couple times I thought our defensemen could go down the wall in the offensive zone, and they didn't, just because I think they made the right read. We didn't have anybody coming across, and I still think there was no danger there, but I liked their thinking and how they approached it, and looking and seeing, you know, I don't have support here, so I'm just going to stay back. So that, from that standpoint, it's good that the defensemen and players are starting to recognize that.
Anything else for Todd? Thank you.
Thanks.